people think the greatest gift you can give your children is love, but it's not. The greatest gift you can give your kids is this. Give them the ability to handle life by throwing adversity at them that they can reasonably handle. We have to do the right thing for our kids. And people said, Anil, that's a big jump. How, was it difficult? And I thought, I guess it was. But once you make a decision and you know it's the right decision, everything gets done. What act of kindness did you perform? Not did you perform an act of kindness? See, when you say, did you have an opportunity to, they all say no. But if you said, what act of kindness did you see? What act of kindness did you perform? They have to answer positively. Under no circumstances will I give my happiness away. No matter what my daughters do, no matter what my family does, no matter what my wife does, I'm never going to give my happiness away. When Richard Branson was 5 years old, he was put in the middle of a field and told to get home. I said, no. My wife said, no, we're not doing that. I said, okay. So then we took them into central London and dropped them off, and they had to get home. We were 10 feet behind them, but they couldn't call on us unless it was absolutely necessary. Be so amazing you cannot be ignored. And if you are ignored, doesn't matter, because how you show up in this magnificent world will be the best version of you.
Welcome to the Daughter Podcast, where fathers become everyday heroes in their daughters' lives. Grow, evolve, and lead with love. Here's your host, Oscar Peña.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the Daughter Podcast. Oscar here, your local Grow and Go Dad. Today with Mr. Anil Gupta, who is my guest, and really excited to get into the conversation. We call him the Love Doctor, and I am curious, but also excited to talk about the relationship building that he worked with people on and gear it towards our fathers. So, Mr. Anil Gupta, how are you today?
I'm very blessed, Oscar. Thank you for, the honor of being on your show. I'm so excited to deliver life-changing content, which is proven, practical, powerful, and immediate.
Us here in Daughter Podcast, the folks that listen, that's what we're looking for, right? I know for me, sitting in this seat, I always call myself the knuckle dragger. I need pragmatic things that I can grab and go use right away so that I can put them into play and almost to see a difference right away. And your work has started to do that with a lot of people and a lot of relationships in a wide spectrum. But today, I hope to bring those lessons and those pragmatic tools to fathers everywhere.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about something that they can use today that will add more years to their life and more life to their years.
Awesome. Well, Anil, how about we start from the beginning? Give us a little bit about your background, what you've been doing, a little bit about your son and daughter, and your relationship with your wife.
Sure. So I grew up in London for 35 years, and we moved to a town called Celebration, which is built by Disney near Disney World. And we've been here 23 years. My kids were 9 and 11 at the time. And in London, there's a lot of academia. It's very stressful for kids studying, long hours, very stressful. And I didn't want that for my kids. I just wanted them to be happy. I didn't want them to be academics. I didn't want them to just be, grinding all the time. So we moved to Florida, which is a beautiful place. And, life was very, very beautiful. Everything was easy for them because they weren't being pushed academic, but they played sports, they played tennis, they played soccer, all sorts of things. And they had an outdoor life. So that was a beautiful thing. And, we have to do the right thing for our kids. And people said, Anil, that's a big jump. How, was it difficult? And I thought, I guess it was. But once you make a decision and it's the right decision, everything gets done. And for our kids, it was the best decision. My daughter is a beautiful soul. She's 32. She's married. She has a beautiful grandson, beautiful husband. And, we're going to talk about this today is that, she married her first boyfriend. How much peace did that give me? Because I thought no one was good enough for her.
Right.
I was dreading someone meeting her and not looking after her. But I taught her what to look for. And we'll talk about this today. if your daughters and your sons and any member of your family can use this formula, they will pick the right partner.
Mm.
And my daughter married her first boyfriend. He's a 12 out of 10. He's incredible.
Mm.
And this saves so much pain and strain in relationships, because as a dad, you don't want to see your daughter being abused or not being looked after. I have not a single moment of worry.
Mm.
And how beautiful is that? So we can talk about that. My son is a public speaker. He's spoken in over 1,000 talks for Tony Robbins. He's currently in India helping the youth out there gain tools that they don't have. They're very hungry out there and they're willing to learn, and they're very, very energized. So he's impacted millions of kids out there. So I'm so proud of them. And I have a beautiful wife. She's been with me for 37 years, 1 month, 1 day. So I think she might be thinking I'm a keeper, and I know that she's a keeper.
Yeah, she might be keeping you around now, huh?
But she's looking after me. I don't know if the audience knows, but I've got a fractured wrist in 9 places. I've got 2 pins. And Oscar, every morning and every evening, my wife puts toothpaste on my toothbrush for me because I can't, it's too fiddly for me. Every time I look at that, my heart is filled. And this is what I would recommend your listeners to do. Just look at your daughter and remember the day she was born. Nothing else is important.
Right.
What you focus on is what you get.
You and I talked probably about a couple of weeks ago now before we got on here, and you gave me some exercises. And I bring them up because they're so simple and they're so poignant, but we don't do that very often, right? We almost tend to make things a little more difficult than they have to be. And some of the exercises you gave me, like just talking to my daughters, asking specific questions, but in those exercises, and I'm sure you mentioned some of those today, I was able to just look at my daughters, right? Just as they're talking, I'm trying to think about what they're saying, but just the thought of them being born to where they are now, to just the beautiful souls that they've created, right? As they grow up, it was really a sombering moment. And I've done it with all 3 of them repeatedly now. And it's something that I think goes not mentioned enough for our community of fathers, to just not make it difficult. Just look at them, look at where they are, look at where they came from, and just be proud of that little moment.
Yes, a beautiful. So tell the audience what you did, what came about from it.
Well, so I changed it up a little bit. You had mentioned to ask some of these questions during dinner, and the dinner conversation tends to get away because the girls want to talk about specific things. But one of my things that I've been doing with, a group of men, fathers, girl fathers that are trying to be better is these certain goals. One of mine was to make sure I find every day time, even 10 minutes of just one-on-one time with each one of the girls, to include my wife, right? Because that's extremely important.
There's a company extremely dedicated to restoring the dignity of hard work and the relentless pursuit of greatness. That company is Fuel Hunt, and I am honored and humbled to have them as our sponsor. They have built a community that is all about choosing discipline over comfort and taking pride in the journey, because comfort is a slow death. Their clothing isn't just apparel or fight gear, it is our uniform. 100% American made, Fuel Hunt clothing is a daily reminder for me and those around me that I am committed to being among the few who truly hunt for their goals. Join the movement today and wear your ambition proudly. Everybody wants to eat, but only a few will hunt. Follow the link in the show notes and use GrillDad at checkout for 10% off your purchase.
We talked about, little questions like, what have you done today that you were not thanked for? That was one of your questions. That was interesting from all 4 of them, right? Because everybody's got a different lens. But I noticed that in their answers, I realize I can do better with thanking them for little things that they're doing. pay more attention to what they input to our house. Here in our house, we all do chores. We all do the things that need to get done. There's no payment for it. It's just you're part of this team, and we're all doing things. But I think I forget that those little humans that are doing chores need to be given a thank you every so often, because it's just getting done. And so those are the kind of things that we were discussing. The other one was, I didn't write it down, but it was to the tune of, have you had the opportunity to be kind to someone today? And has someone been kind to you?
The question was, what act of kindness did you perform? Not did you perform an act of kindness? See, when you say, did you have an opportunity to, they all say no. But if you said, what act of kindness did you see? What act of kindness did you perform? They have to answer positively. See, the wording makes a difference.
Of course. And with that, it was, again, just telling, because it's nice to have that simple conversation, and it's nice to get them out of the normal day-to-day talk, if you will, right? What was school like, and what the bus ride was like, and homework, and all these different things. So it almost when I started doing it, it almost takes them by surprise, right? Like, what do you mean by that question? And then we kind of get a little bit deeper into that. And I think it allows for just a little bit of a deeper connection that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. So, Oscar, what do you think parents ask when they pick up their kids? What's the first question most parents ask?
Yeah, right. How was your day?
Yeah, that's an interrogation to the child. They've had a hard day. The last thing they want to do is talk about school. And what's the first thing you talk about?
Right.
So this is what I coach my parents on doing. Wind down the windows. Put on loud music that the child loves and their friends love. And just come in, don't say anything, and do this to your child. Look at your child and go like this. A fist bump, high five, whatever.
Right.
All her friends are going to say, your dad's cool. Your mum's cool. And then, occasionally, as you're driving along, say, honey, what would you do? What would you love to do right now? Pizza, ice cream, whatever you want. What would you? And she'll say, Dad, I'd love. Okay, let's do it. The other thing, after about 3 or 4 minutes, look at your child and say, hey, what was fun, exciting, magical about today? Then you're going to see a different energy.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to look, oh, Dad, you won't believe what happened. Boom.
Right. That is something that I practice. This was before we talked, but I picked it up somewhere else too. But I don't ask the question anymore. I see them. If from the first time I see them, especially if I'm picking them up, I just say, hey, very happy to see you today. That's it. They get in the car, they put their stuff away, and then I'll just leave it in silence until they decide to want to talk or turn on the radio, or just kind of give them that room to decompress a little bit without, as you mentioned, without the interrogation questions. And sure enough, shortly after, I'll get information. And they'll just start talking about something they want to talk about. How much school was boring today or long, or they'll start talking about something like that. And then after we get the conversation going, then I try to input one of these questions, because now we're warmed up, right? We're starting to move a little bit, and we can get into conversation that way.
Yeah. And the powerful way to do this exercise is with the entire family. And then the next day, let one of the children take charge of the exercise. That way, become more confident. They be respectful. They develop public speaking skills. And it's one of the greatest gifts you can give your children. People think the greatest gift you can give your children is love, but it's not. The greatest gift you can give your kids is this. Give them the ability to handle life by throwing adversity at them that they can reasonably handle. See, that's what happens in nature. When a deer is born, it's taught how to fend for itself. But as parents, what we do, we try and protect our children. And when we do that, we raise entitled and enabled kids. And they just don't know what to do. and it's not helpful to us. It's not joyful to us. So, because we've all been through adversity, and we try and say to ourselves, oh, I don't want my kids to go through adversity. I'll protect them. But you can't do that. When Richard Branson was 5 years old, he was put in the middle of a field and told to get home. I said, no. My wife said, no, we're not doing that. I said, okay. So then we took them into central London and dropped them off, and they had to get home. We were 10 feet behind them, but they couldn't call on us unless it was absolutely necessary. And that's how we, gave them that adversity. When my daughter was 18, she went around the world by herself.
Wow.
And it was scary. Liam Nielsen? They just released the film.
Oh my goodness.
Movie Taken. And my wife was going crazy. Said, don't worry. We have friends all over the world. And she stayed at some friends' houses. But she arranged everything. And this is what we have to do. We have to teach our kids. And then they will love you because they want to, not because they have to.
Well, without going into the entire TED Talk, which, by the way, guys, you'd be very amazed at his story. Talk a little bit about how you've used that adversity that you talk about in raising your children. And just for context, were your children already born when you told your wife, like, honey, we've lost everything? Or was it after?
My kids were, 2008. They were 17 and 15.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It was a tough time. Yeah. Very tough times.
Talk a little bit about that adversity and how you were able to show up as a husband, as a father, and continue to lead your family in that way.
So it's a Friday, November 2008. I'd lost everything in the stock market, real estate. And I thought, now would be a good time to tell my wife. So I went up to the bedroom and said, honey, something terrible has happened. She said, what's going on? I said, I've been working on the stock market, and the real estate recession has devastated our finances. We're going to lose the house. We're going to lose the car. We're going to lose all the money we have saved up for the kids. And Oscar, she looked up at me and she smiled. And I said, what's wrong with you? She said, honey, you don't understand. I said, no, I really don't understand. She said, honey, I knew something was wrong. You've been behaving strangely. And I thought you were dying. I thought you had cancer. I was shocked, Oscar. What? She said, honey, that's all I care about. I don't care about the money. I was shocked. I thought she was going to berate me, tell me what an idiot I was and leave me and whatever. And I wanted to, because, why should she stay with me? I'm a failure. But she didn't. And she said, honey, we have you. We have the kids. We'll sleep in the streets if we have to. And Oscar, when you have someone like that behind you, everything changed. So I started doing events. Why people 10, 15, 20, 100, 200, 500, eventually 10,000 people. I wrote a bestseller book. I've written 3 bestseller books now. TEDx, Fox News, Sky TV, BBC, NBC, iHeartRadio, Harvard. Richard Branson has been to one of my events. I've coached people like Mike Tyson, royalty, heads of state have invited me. The Dalai Lama has invited me twice to meet him. And this isn't to impress you. You asked me today, why am I on this podcast? Because if we impact one person, it's worth it. But I want to impress upon you, when you have a beautiful family dynamic, you'll get a lot more done. You'll make such a difference. You'll be a lot more joyous. You'll have a lot more energy. Life is so beautiful.
I couldn't agree with you more. Obviously, my situation is not the same as that. But having a full-time job and then having the podcast, that is, in case anybody wants to know, it is not as easy as you think it is. It is it's a lot of hours, a lot of time. My wife and I have been married for 22 years.
Congrats.
Thank you. And
I want to just tell the audience something.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, Oscar has spent many, many, many hours researching so that he can come up with the right question. You need to know that. It's not just like, oh, I'll just turn up.
Yes.
We had a pre-interview. I had to pass that. And then he did a lot of research. So this guy's out there looking after your needs, and he wants you to get the best of everything that he can possibly deliver.
Thank you. Yes, we want to make sure to put out value, right? What is the value of this? And it has to be valuable. I know it's valuable to me, but if the listeners aren't getting value, then it's just a conversation between you and I, right? But yeah, so she's amazing. She knows that this is time consuming. She knows that, but she knows that this is also very worthwhile. And she knows that this is something that is helping people. And she is willing to allow me to sit here, not just in the in the interview. The interview process is actually the easy part and the very fun part, if you will. It's the aftermath of the editing and all those things that go into that. But I guess I'm saying all those things to give her thanks because of her, I'm able to work a full-time job, but also do this and also have time for the girls because of the way that she that she creates our life overall. And what you just said really hits me in the heart is that when you have that family unit that gives you the energy, you're able to do so much more than if you didn't.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Of course. Let's move a little bit. So we were talking about, the recession. You obviously got hit very hard. Your kids are teenagers at this moment. You told your wife, and I'm almost feeling what you're talking about because I would also want that. I would also be like, you know what? You need to go find something else, someone else, because I'm obviously not what you need for your family. But instead, she embraces you and you guys move forward and you've created this amazing, not new life, but you've continued to improve your life together since then. With that much adversity, and if you all remember 2008, it was not an easy time. How would you say that you were able to show up like you did for your family? When you're looking at your wife, your daughter, your son, and knowing that you have to provide, but also, I assume you still want to be present and be mindful with them. How were you able to do that?
So my wife asked me what I love to do. And I said, I love to coach. She said, go and coach. And I said, what about the money? She said, don't worry about the money. So I started coaching. And I would just give my coaching away for free. And Oscar, when you perform an act of kindness, all the pain and suffering disappears. And I felt good. And I thought, this is interesting. So I became addicted. So when you perform an act of kindness, you feel good. You receive endorphins. The person receiving the act of kindness feels good. They receive endorphins. The person sharing the act of kindness feels good and they receive endorphins. The person sharing the act of kindness receives endorphins. The person receiving the sharing of the act of kindness receives endorphins. So it continues a long way. We never know what other people are going through. I remember doing a talk and, I don't remember the talk, but I remember doing a talk and the man came up to me and said, Anil, you changed my life 3.5 years ago. I said, what? So, one thing I did, and I urge every one of you to do this one thing, is this. Be so amazing you cannot be ignored. And if you are ignored, doesn't matter because how you show up in this magnificent world will be the best version of you. Right. You will change lives.
Right.
So then I started working on what I had left because I was focusing on what I didn't have. And Oscar, I became a billionaire. And I'll tell you what happened. I stopped using the US currency and I started using the currency of love, camaraderie, friendship, kindness, playfulness, generosity. And if you change your currency, you can become a billionaire, a trillionaire, a quadrillionaire. And then I grew emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and financially. So this was a precursor to the happiness formula, which is the happiness formula is equal to happiness is equal to G times G times G. You have to give your time, your energy, your love, your commitment, your joy, your gift, your money. You have to be grateful for what you have and don't focus on what you don't have. And you have to grow emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, and financially. So let me give you an example. I had my accident with my wrist on the pickleball court, 25th of August at about 9.
Okay.
Okay. At 8:30 a.m., my happiness score was GGG. For giving was 9, for growing was 9, and gratitude was 9. So that's 729. That's my score there. At 9:01, when I'd had my accident, I could see my hand was, distorted. There was blood coming out. It was awful. My score went to 111. So my score went to 1.
Okay.
1 times 1 times 1. Then 10 seconds later, my body was filled with gratitude because it was my left hand. I'm right hand. At least I can play pickleball.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't damage my brand new pickleball,
Right.
pickleball paddle, because, that's a big thing for me. Then I thought, okay, so that's the gratitude. What could I do to give? Then I thanked people around me, the fire crew, the ambulance people, the people who put 12 lead electrodes on my body, because I collapsed and fainted and dehydrated and shocked. And then I thanked my friends who took me to the doctor and stayed there with me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, what do I need to grow? So, because I was beating myself up. Why are you so stupid? Why didn't you do this? Oh my God. And this. So I thought I have to grow. What do I need to grow? So, just let go. Think about the future. What's the benefit of this? What can I learn from this? How can I use this as a teaching? So I grew. So my score went to 555. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So my happiness went from 729 to 1 to 125. It went up 125 times. So if you use this formula anytime, say, for example, you get upset with your daughter, ask yourself, hey, what do I need to do in this moment? Do I need to give? Do I need to grow? Or do I need to be grateful? And that will raise your score. It will stop you getting and staying in a upset state. It's a beautiful formula. Works every single time.
Right. I think it's easier said than done, right? Because you have to be very purposeful at those hard moments to be able to stop and think, how can I give, be grateful in this moment that, maybe an injury, maybe a loss of something. And then how can I grow from this? I think the growth portion being at the end is really, really important, because you wouldn't be able to grow until you do the first two, right? The first two will allow you to start that growth. So whatever that moment gave you to do that. When I look at it.
Sorry, you could do any of them, but also, Oscar, it's a muscle. Your kids can walk, correct?
Yes.
But they didn't get it right first time. It's a muscle memory. And so at first you might not do it, but then if the thought comes in, no, do I need to grow gratitude? Okay, then you just get very good at it. Obviously, I've been doing this for a long time. And I'd had another situation. I was on Richard Branson's island. I was wearing flip-flops. They were taking us around. I slipped and fell. And again, I fell with my left hand onto a cactus. Ooh. I had about 150 cacti in my hand. And I was so annoyed. Then I thought, hey, Anil, you can still play tennis. I can throw the ball up well head. So again, I was focused on gratitude, on growing and giving. Right. And just practice this every day. Just ask yourself every day, once a give great gratitude, and then twice a day, and then 3 times a day. And it will just give you so much more growth, so much more joy, and a lot more awareness.
Give me a couple of examples how you use that with your kids, particularly your daughter, as she was growing up.
Okay, so for example, she did something and upset me. And then I asked myself, hey, what do you need to do? Do I need to give? Do I need to grow? Do I need to be grateful? So you know what? I need to be grateful to her. It's only a small thing relatively. Why react? What do I need to change? How could I grow here? What could I do to make her feel more loved? What could I do to calm the situation? So it's just a muscle. I could ask myself, what could I do to be a better father? What could I do to be a better husband? What could I do to be a better son? And the questions you ask yourself will determine the answers. And one thing I constantly say in my family is there's always a way. There's always a way. When I fractured my arm, there's one doctor I wanted to see. He couldn't even see me until at least a month, never mind do an operation.
Right.
But I found a way to get it done basically the next day that he got back from vacation, which is 3 days away. But there's always a way. And if you instill this in people, when my daughter was in Australia, she said, Dad, I'm going to China tomorrow. I said, great. Then she said, I have nowhere to stay. I said, great. She said, Dad, what's great about that? I said, honey, I know you'll find a way. And she did. I could have done it for her,
Of course.
but that's where you throw adversity at them that they can reasonably handle. And it's not like we threw everything up. You do baby steps. So, for example, you take your child 20 feet from home, walk home, 50 feet from home, walk home, 100 feet from home. Then you ask them to do it. You ask them to lead. You ask them to notice. Say, honey, what's the nearest landmark to us? It's that church. Okay, always remember church. Remember that building. Remember the police station. Remember the fire department. Remember the bakery. Remember whatever. So that they're using that muscle every time they go somewhere. They're looking for a landmark. Okay, we're near there. So that's the muscle we can teach the kids.
The tools to give them the tools that they need to be able to do that without relying on the electronics.
Yeah. And the thing is, we were never given tools. Once you give them the tools, then they can work things out rather than rely, oh, my phone's dead. I can't do anything.
Right.
And that will allow them not to use the phone because it's not healthy for them.
The question that you talk about when you say excitement draws a lot of attention with my girls, right? Because they're like, how was the school all day? There's nothing exciting that happened. My little one's a little bit different, but everything's exciting to her. She's in kindergarten. What do you find that question brings to the connection between a father and their kids?
Well, it lights them up. They're looking for something fun, magical, exciting, special, humorous, playful. And then they're scanning their brains and they might find 2 or 3 or 4 because they're focusing on maybe the negative, the school day, the homework and this and this. So it's just creating that muscle so that any part of their non-school life, they'll be looking for that.
Right.
And then they'll realize, it was a good day. And then all of a sudden they have more energy. So tiredness is not physical. If, for example, you're really, 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 really tired, Oscar, or your child is tired and you ask them, hey, do your homework, they're going to say, they're going to be,
right.
I don't want to do it, don't want to do it. If you say, hey, let's go for ice cream, all of a sudden they'll have energy. Yeah. So imagine your wife is really tired. She's looked after the kids and then someone tries to break into the house. Is she going to be energized? Of course she is.
Right.
She's going to do anything that she can to stop that intruder coming in. She's going to have that energy. So tiredness is not physical. It's a function of resistance. If you're resisting something, my homework, going to school, going to an event,
bedtime,
bedtime. Yeah. They get tired. But if they're excited about something, they'll never get tired.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's take you back a little bit to when your kids were teenagers, because sometimes in asking these questions, I got either the silent treatment, right? Because they just don't feel like talking to dad, or they've had a bad day, so they don't feel like getting happy. And that's an answer I got, right? One of the days. Like, I had a bad day. I don't feel like laughing. I don't feel like anything exciting. How did you handle those? With your mindset is the mindset that we want to have, but how did you handle the teenage years when maybe that was not so receptive?
So we call it CAN-I and AIM, constant and never-ending improvement. And AIM is always improving myself. So, we've been guiding them since, very young age. But let's role play, okay? You be the daughter, not be you. Honey, how do you feel?
I don't feel very good. I just had a bad day.
Oh, I'm sorry. What happened?
I don't feel like talking about it.
I know. But what made it bad? Did you poop in your pants?
No.
Did someone else poop in their pants?
No.
You know what's a real? You break and you fall down, you break your leg. and on the way down, you break your wrist. That's a really bad. And did someone break their wrist or break their arms?
No.
Did someone fail at in a big exam?
I don't know.
Okay. So a really bad is when you're having ice cream and you're about to eat, falls on the floor. That's a really bad day. Has that ever happened to you?
Yep.
Let's go fix that.
I see
Let's
what
go
you
get
did
ice
there.
cream now.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not going to win.
Right.
There's always a way. I'm going to find a way.
Yeah. There is a way.
Hey, honey, are you ticklish? Oh, okay. I don't believe you.
Right.
I'm coming.
Yeah. We are just entering those teenage years, and we're starting to see some of that where, and I think a lot of fathers get into this mode, right? Because, up until 10 years old, your kids see you as a hero. They see you as like this grander than most things. And then we get stuck in that mode, like, oh yeah, this is kind of relatively easy. I could make my child laugh if I talk about pooping in their pants and doing this and that. But then all of a sudden we're sitting there like, this is not working. This is no longer working because, this life is different for them now at 13 or 14 or what have you.
Hey, if you enjoy the Daughter Podcast, you'll love what we've got waiting for you at daughterpodcast.com. As soon as you visit, you'll be prompted to join our new email newsletter, a resource packed with valuable insights, practical tips, and powerful perspectives straight from our podcast episodes and incredible guests. Don't miss out on the chance to join the community and strengthen your journey as a pod. Visit daughterpodcast.com today and subscribe, because great dads never stop growing.
One thing that I have to be cautious of is doing what you're doing, but not in the tone that you're doing it. Because for me, it'd be like, is your house getting bombed today? It's not. So I think we're good, right? I'm saying giving those examples because, my profession has taken me around the world and I've seen, third world country living conditions, and I've seen war zones. And so it's easy for me to just be like, no, this is not a bad day. This is a first world problem. I share this with my girls all the time. You are having a first world problem. The internet not working, that is a first world problem, right? Now, to your point, I'm probably not using that same tone because for me, it's just kind of a black and white thing. You live in a free nation where you can have a first world problem. You're blessed, right? Compared to others. But I'm reminded, my wife particularly will remind me that their world, their view is everything to them, especially in the teenage years, right? It's like, something happens and it's just drastic. And we're sitting back here like, that's not even going to matter in like 2 years. It's going to go, you're not even going to remember that. But it's hard to do that.
Two summers.
Right.
It's not 2 years. So, Oscar, I had 2 minutes of adolescent behavior.
Mm.
One day, my daughter answered me back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I knew what it was. She was spending time with the wrong people.
Mm.
So she heard them speak to their parents that way. I said, oh, honey, is that really the way you want to speak to me? And she thought, I said, no, Dad, I'm sorry. So, do you know why you're doing that? She thought about it. She said, no, I don't. I said, does anyone else use that language around you with their parents? She said, Dad, Chelsea does. Oh, okay. So she's out.
Right.
So the reason we have adolescent behavior is this, and this is the biggest mistake that parents make. They expect the child to come into the adult world. Like you say, you've got it easy. This is first world problem. They don't understand that. We have to sit next to them and find out who their favorite pop star is, their favorite band, their favorite music, their favorite sports person, their favorite icons, things, their favorite friends, what they love to do, what makes them happy, and sit with them and not say, hey, when I was your age, I had 3 jobs, I did this, They don't want to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
They say, honey, it's your 16th birthday coming up and I've got 2 tickets for your favorite band. Front row tickets, and I want you to take your best friend. What's the best friend going to say about you? Oh, your dad's amazing. Your mum's amazing. So get into their head, fear what they're fearing, see what they're seeing, look at the stresses and pain points that they're going through and sit with them. And when you do this dinner exercise, they're going to be more open, more communicative.
Well, our time is coming short, but I'd like to get from you a few very useful, pragmatic things. And I know some of them are those questions that we talked about, right? Like asking them during dinner. And then I really like what you said, give it to your next kid and have them then lead the exercise. And I think that's great. Give us a couple more of ways that fathers who are looking to be more mindful about how they're being perceived by their children and by the people around them, their wives and friends and whatnot. And then also who are looking to be more present in their children's lives. Give us a few pragmatic things that we can take away today as we're listening to the Love Doctor, and we can go put them into play.
Yeah. So let's roll. So Oscar, if I said to you, rip off your right shoulder and give it to me, knowing you would bleed to death, would you do that?
No.
No, it's a hell no. It's a good rule. Keep it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what if you had the same rule for your happiness? Under no circumstances will I give my happiness away. No matter what my daughters do, no matter what my family does, no matter what my wife does, I'm never going to give my happiness away. I'm not going to react. I'm going to handle the situation, but I'm not going to give my happiness away. And if you teach this to the kids, because they give their happiness away with a Facebook post or an Instagram post or social media, or someone said this to you. So let's build them up, give them the tools and methodologies and systems to handle life. And be careful what you say. You know, one day my son came up to me and said, "Dad, you lied to me." I said, "Son, you have no idea how high level of integrity I have." It came up in one of the dinner conversations. Son, I have a very high level of integrity. You know, I coach people, I change lives. I'm curious. I could have got angry at him. What are you talking about? I said, I'm curious. Why do you say that? I said, Dad, you said you would come and play with me in half an hour. You took over an hour. And I thought, you're right. I am out of integrity. Please forgive me. We have to be careful what we say to our kids. Be your word. Be honorable. If you say to them, don't drink Coke and you drink it, you're out of integrity.
Right.
Focus on, how can I serve my daughter? How can I serve my wife? How can I serve my father? When my father walks into in a room I'm in, I stand up in honor of him. I could tell my son, you should do that. But if he sees me doing it, he will learn by experience. Take your kids and do voluntary work. Show them what life is like on the other side. Let them experience the gift of giving, what other people are going through. Be so amazing you cannot be ignored. And they will start being that too. Be the best version of, be the role model. Bring them up with love.
That's beautiful. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, right? Be better a little bit every single day so that they are seeing that growth in their fathers and then hopefully emulating that for us. Now, you are doing a lot of work. I mean, as I was doing my research, I was finding you everywhere. What is keeping your time lately? You were talking about being on 7 different shows a week. Talk to us a little bit about that, and then give us a little bit about your work, your books that you have put out that obviously we'll put in the show notes for everybody.
So with this fractured wrist, I tend to have a lot more free time. And I'm more conscious of my time. I'm not doing things that are distracting me. I'm not going out. I'm not pickleball. I'm not driving anywhere. So I'm just working a lot more diligent. And I decided, look, I've got all this knowledge. I need to share it, because what if I'm not around? What if this was a lot more serious? What if I had a brain injury? And then my message isn't getting out there. So I decided I've got to get my message out one by one, And that's what happened. I just want to let people know that there's a different way.
And you just released the 3rd book. Is that right?
Yeah, my 3rd book. The first book is called Immediate Happiness. which is a manual on human behavior.
Okay.
So if you just get this book, it will teach you all about forgiveness, letting go, why we do what we do. The past does not equal the future.
Mm-hmm.
We're meaning-making machines. It's a really very powerful book. And the second book is called The Heart Map of Health, the Heart Map for Health. And the third book is called The Heart Map for Vitality. I've asked different people to share their thoughts on how to live a richer, fuller, happier, longer life.
Mm.
So, when you get these tools, they're very powerful and they will enhance your life.
And where can people find you nowadays?
So the best place is my website, which is meetanil.com.
Okay.
And I also have Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of that stuff. And I'm sure you'll add that to the show notes. But on the website, you'll find great content that you'll have access to that are very powerful and very practical.
And that is absolutely correct. I spent a lot of time on that website now, and it has everything. One, I'm a little jealous of the website because I'm working hours and I'm going to copy some of your stuff there, but
copy all of it.
But a lot of very powerful information there, a lot of very, very powerful tools that we can use to work on ourselves, on our happiness, and how we can show that to our children, not give them that, but show them that, right? And you mentioned that, I think, in one of your talks is we're not here to make them happy, right? We're not here. That's not our job, but our job is to give them the tools to get themselves to that.
You just reminded me about something. My kids would often say, "I'm bored."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I would say, "Honey, it's not that you're bored. It's that you're boring." they that.
Right.
They changed. They said, oh, okay, maybe because they have to take responsibility. And the problem is nowadays that a lot of parents, they're constantly entertaining their kids. And then, when the kids aren't entertained, they're bored. Right? So they have to take ownership. Okay, if you're bored, you're boring, what are you going to do about it? Oh, what do you mean? Well, you could read a book, right? Finish your homework. You could do this. But it's a muscle they need to develop.
I like to say good. When they say, "Dad, I'm bored," I'm like, "Oh, that's good. That's good. That gives you an opportunity to go find something to do." And they don't like that answer, but they almost always go find something to do.
Beautiful. Love that.
Well, Anil, it's been a pleasure having you on. The information put out to our community is just gold because we have to keep working and we have to understand that how we present ourselves, how we show up for our kids is just so important. So I can't thank you enough for coming on here, sharing your time, even in your injury, putting your message out there and making a difference. So thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah. And Oscar, thank you for what you do. And it's a Sunday, so you're giving up valuable time with your kids. And I appreciate doing that. Thank you.
Of course, no, thank you. And for all you guys out there, please grab this information, put it into use. You'd be amazed how quickly this stuff can make a difference with a connection with your daughters. Until next time, we'll see you later.
This has been the Daughter Podcast. Be sure to share this show with a friend, like, subscribe, follow us on social media, and leave us a review. For everything Girl Dad, head over to daughterpodcast.com. That's daughterpodcast.com.